Hello and welcome to Climbing Daily and the Peak District. We are at the Outside Cafe and Shop, which is a fantastic place to spend some time if you want a bacon sandwich. And I'm here with this man, Mr. Ned Feehally. And look, you are Mr. Beastmaker and you've written a brand new training book. Ned, first of all, people who don't know who you are, just tell us about you, Beastmaker, and what you do.
I have climbed for probably 20, maybe 25 years or so. So I climbed for a while, started Beastmaker in about 2008, and that's been ticking over since. And then more recently I decided to try and write a book about training and about how to try and get better. And at first it was quite a small operation based out of a shed basically, and then further down the line it just sort of grew, and I mean now it's a little bit bigger, but there's only 4 of us that run the company, so still a little thing.
You must be churning it out, because I know, like at EpicTV, we sell the Beastmaker boards. We have it in the shop, the next day it's gone.
Yeah.
How do you keep up with the demand?
We are struggling. I mean, we make as many as we can, but we are getting a lot of orders. I think as climbing grows and as people are training more at home maybe, then we sell loads of them and they seem really popular. So yeah, it's great. I mean, we love that people like them.
So Ned, Beastmaker makes fingerboards, it makes holds. Now you've written a book. So why did you decide to write this?
It felt like climbing training literature was all quite maybe dull and sterile. So I wanted to try and write a book that made training seem sort of approachable and possible for anybody, for normal climbers, not for professionals. I
do get that impression, because when I read it, it was a bit like your mate describing to you sort of like different methods for training. You're very knowledgeable mate, if you know what I mean. Yeah, well
I wanted it to be quite conversational, and I wanted you to be able to sort of dip in and out and not have to read it cover to cover or front to back to get anything useful from it. So it feels like you can sit down and open it on any page and there'll be something that's kind of useful, hopefully.
There were some sections of the book I loved, one of them being the anatomical side of things, because you go into huge detail and you talk about exactly which pulleys are doing what and how that can be trained and the things to look out for, with some beautiful pictures in there as well. That section is a bit more scientific. Did you have to research that, or is that knowledge that you knew already?
I kind of had a good idea of it, but I did need to sort of research to tighten it all up and make it definitely correct. But it was something I was sort of aware of, and I think having knowledge about how your body works is so useful if you want to train and improve. It helps you sort of know if you're doing the right thing, know if you're getting injured. So it's dead useful, and I think people might just find it interesting to see what's going on, especially in your hands that are so complicated.
Yeah, well, I know it's important to have strong fingers, right? But I didn't know sort of. It sounds silly, but I don't know how you got strong fingers.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't, do they? I mean, a lot of people think, well, there's no muscles, so what happens?
Yeah, exactly, and how that gets better. Shauna's right on the front of the book.
Yeah.
How much influence did she have on the writing of this?
I mean, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have done it. So, I mean, loads. But then, I mean, she helped sort of test what I was, well, not test what I was writing, but check it all kind of made sense, check the vibe was right. She did loads of it. Absolutely loads.
I suppose having a sort of World Cup Olympian
there
as an
that's
athlete.
It, yeah. She knows what she's on about.
Yeah.
So she was good for bouncing ideas off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And telling me when I was wrong.
Beastmaker has a bit of a reputation maybe for being hardcore. Sweaty people in tiny cellars doing horrendous crimps. I found this book took a bit of that reputation out of it, became more friendly when I read this book. Do you think that this is going to make it more accessible to people?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally training has become a bit more approachable for people. It's become more popular, more commonplace. But I mean, that is the idea of this book, is that it's a sort of easy entry into the world of training.
One of my favourite chapters in it was when you talk about board training. Talk to me about that chapter, because it seemed like something quite personal to you almost.
I love climbing on boards, and I have done for years, but I do remember when I built my first one at home, I made massive improvements because I just had my own board tailored to what I needed, just there. So I think it's so useful climbing on boards, but I think for a lot of people, again, it's just kind of hard to approach a board. It seems too hardcore, or it seems like they don't know what to do on it. So again, this was just trying to make it dead simple.
Yeah.
It's just going climbing, but a hard version.
And there was something specific I remember when you were talking about the types, this is so geeky if you don't remember this, but the types of footholds that you were using, if they're in-cut or small. Tell me about that.
Climbing on a board, you've got your bad handholds, so why don't you have a selection of bad footholds as well? So you can have in-cut ones to practice more kind of clawing in moves, or you can have more slopey ones, so you've got to really push through the feet. And they teach you to climb in different ways and stand on different feet, so I mean it's important to train both, and it adds loads of variation to a session.
What I liked in the book when you were talking about the different crimps you used, and you know, one of the things is when you talk about closed crimps, and you know, a lot of people when you talk about it, it's just like, don't do it, just never do it. And you take a different approach to that side of things, and you're very detailed with the different crimps. Why do you go into that much detail with it?
Yeah, like I guess when I was growing up and climbing training was quite new, the idea was that if you crimp too much, you'd get injured. But I just think that's absolute nonsense. I think you get injured if you don't crimp enough, because you're not ready for it. When you're out on rock and you pull really hard, you need to be prepared for it. So I think training all the different types of crimps and doing it properly is really important.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense, because, like, you know, if you spend your whole time not closing or doing a different type of crimp, like when I go onto a project or something I want to climb, I'm doing everything. I'm locking the heck out of that thing. And if I'm not ready for it, that's when an injury happens.
Totally. And I think a lot of finger injuries come from just doing something that you're not used to. So it makes total sense to do all the things that you're going to do when you go climbing.
And then we move on to some athletes we all know. I'm thinking Adam Ondra, Magos, Alex Puccio. That must have been fascinating interviewing them about their training processes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that they agreed to do it. But yeah, it's brilliant. It was nice when I'd get the interviews back, and a lot of it would sort of back up what I'd written, and I thought, oh, maybe I should keep going with this book. But I mean, it's really interesting. You can just see what people have done, or what people think's good, what people think's bad. And I mean, they're all the best climbers in the world.
Yeah.
So it's obviously something's worked for them.
I've done a lattice training program, which I loved, right? But I remember getting a little bit sort of obsessed with it. You know, if I hadn't done certain things at certain times, then I was somehow going to fail in the long run. And I had to always talk myself out of that mentality. It was refreshing to have a book which is just like, look, do this when you can, fit it in, and you will actually improve.
Yeah, I think as long as you do something and you try hard, then you'll get better. And I think for most people it doesn't really matter what they're doing, as long as they're trying really hard consistently, then it's going to benefit them.
Ned, thank you so much. The Beastmaking is a fantastic book. It's like one of those ones, well, I said I was sent it, I thought I'll skim through it for this interview just so I know what's going on. I ended up reading the entire thing.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it was fantastic. Great. And there's little gems throughout that book that are fantastic. And it's, you know, I have a busy life. I can't necessarily do a training program all the time, and it is so refreshing to have a book which just goes, look, you know, do what you can do. This is how you can do it, and just give suggestions for it.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks.
Oh, mate, thank you very much.
I'm glad that you feel like that about it, because that's sort of exactly what I was aiming for, really.
Awesome.
So great.
Well, thank you for today, and if you guys want to pick up the book, there's links down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.